Hey girl, hey, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Misha. Thank you guys for joining me yet again for another review. Guys, sorry this review is so late. I have so many shows that I'm trying to get out to you that I happened to overlook the fact that I did not do Married to Medicine. So child, let's get into it. This is Married to Medicine Season 8, Episode 7. Guess who's coming to dinner? All right. If you're here for the first time, then welcome. If you are back for a second or third time and you have yet to hit the subscribe button, then please go ahead and do that for me right now. For those of you that are new, I do lighthearted reviews with an entertaining twist and a little bit of laughter. Child, it's all a good kiki over here. So please do not hesitate to laugh out loud, honey. Let's get into it. All right, so when the episode first opens up, we see Curtis and Jackie. Jackie's like cutting up some apples and some crackers or something, child, because y'all know she ain't cooking, honey. Not a meal was made, okay? Scott comes in again with his COVID clothes on, trying to kiss Contessa. Scott, first of all, those clothes should have been off of you when you went through the garage. Like, just tracking the germs all up and through the house. Child, okay. Then we see Dr. Simone at the office. I'm not sure what she was talking about, honey, but she laughed, honey, so, okay. Then we go over to Toya's house, right? So Carrie Wells from season 1, honey, Toya done picked her and Lisa Nicole back up, so we got to deal with them this season. So Carrie comes over to visit, and she's just knocking, and Toya and her knock knees roaming around the bathroom. Girl, if you don't go answer the door, child, she's standing outside. So she decides she's going to turn the door and then just try to make her way on in, honey, and the door was unlocked. So then Toya going to tell Carrie, I got to start locking that door. Girl, if you don't lock your door, honey, I don't care if you are in an affluent neighborhood, honey, they steal too. Okay, burglaries and robberies all up and through. Honey, you better ask Chris Brown them. Honey, they be breaking in those celebrities' homes all day and night. You leaving your door unlocked. Girl. Anyway, so they go into the room, and so Toya tells Carrie, that they're going to the March on Washington because the doctors are going to be administering COVID tests, right? So then she says to Carrie, girl, you see my lopsided bed? Carrie gonna say, is that because Eugene is heavy? See, that's what you get for going back to pick up Carrie and Lisa Nicole. That is exactly what you get, honey. So I'm like, the shade of it all, honey. So Carrie was like, no, because my husband, he like flops down like this. And Carrie starts demonstrating how her husband flops in the bed. Girl, if you don't get your street clothes and your body off my bed where I lay down to sleep, that is disgusting. So she continues to flop around over and over and over. And so Toya gonna say, first of all, you shouldn't be on my bed. And secondly, don't be talking about my man. Girl, you invited her into your bedroom, honey. You should have stopped right at the front door. Let me lead you into the living room. Let's have a seat. Toya, you too free, girl. All them germs and laying on your bed. Let me tell you something. My mom does not let me, at this age, even come into her room and sit on her bed. If I'm coming from the outside, there is no way, honey. She does not play that. Child, she is serious when it comes to what happens as far as your street clothes and her bedroom. Okay? So then Toya starts to tell her, that they're going to do the March on Washington, and she invites Carrie to come and tells her, you should come since, you've been protesting and everything. So, Toya, honey, you got it bad inviting other people places that they didn't get an invitation themselves. Heavenly did not invite Carrie, but okay, girl. So Carrie said, what do you think they'll say? She said, nothing, because you're just going to show up. Honey, tacky Toya strikes again. Toya said, if Heavenly has a problem, then she's crazy. And then she says, well, Heavenly she said Heavenly is actually crazy. Well, girl, I'm glad you answered your own question, honey. So now over at Dr. Simone's, they're packing. We see Dr. Contessa and Scott thanking the niece for watching Layla, child, honey, because that's a feat in itself. And baby, I bet that niece said, child, I should have quarantined somewhere else. I have been the therapist, the namaste person, the crystal party thrower. Now I got to watch Layla. Oh, y'all ain't paying me enough, honey. Ooh, baby, Contessa and them say they're going to get their money's worth, okay? Dr. Heavenly and Damon are over there at their house and they're packing, right? Because this is their trip. So he says to her, you only pack one pair of underwear. I was like, what's happening? Honey, Heavenly, let me find out, child. So Dr. Heavenly looking just like Alora. You looked just like your daughter in this scene, Dr. Heavenly. And so they're discussing how they're going to stay safe and that they're happy that that the Reverend Al Sharpton actually reached out to them. So then Dr. Damon starts saying that testing in Georgia has actually helped them to formulate how they will be able to navigate such a large crowd, because it's supposed to be like 50,000 people. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, honey, I hope y'all have the manpower. See, my nerves too bad. I wouldn't be able to administer any COVID tests because, first of all, I'm a germaphobe. Before all of this happened, quite frankly, I would like to walk around and put me and my son in a bubble, but we know that's not going to be able to happen. But if it was me, I wouldn't be able to do it, but I commend them. I just love this show because I love watching these black doctors. I love watching their families. This is the only show on any network that showcases family. You know, showcases black love, whether it be messed up black love or love they're trying to repair. These women and men on here, they show you what it is, and I am here for it, okay? So they arrive at the private jet, right? So Dr. Jackie was telling us that this is like the most significant mission that they've ever had to do as doctors, and that she's very, excited to actually go to the March on Washington. So as they're boarding the plane, Carrie sits her purse down, right? So Heavenly comes, and Heavenly, I guess, wanted that seat, so she moved it over. She was like, whose is this? Carrie's? Honey, moved it politely on over, told Daddy to have a seat, child, because she gonna do what she gonna do, because this is her plane, honey. So Carrie comes back, and she's like, who took my seat? Heavenly said, this is my jet. Oh, Heavenly, honey. Child. And so she was like, this is my jet, honey, so I moved it over. So Carrie was like, oh, that's so rude. And, Heavenly was just saying she wished that Toya would have told her she was bringing extra people, as she should, because why would you just go and invite somebody on the outside to something that you barely were invited to, honey? If Dr. Eugene wasn't a doctor, honey, you wouldn't even be going. So, I mean, you got to stop doing that. She did the same thing when they had like that one-on-one tournament or the kids versus the adults or whatever. She brought that stray lady with her last time. Toya, Carrie, and Lisa around like accessories. So then Lisa Nicole shows up. Now, honey, nobody knew that Lisa was coming. And where's your husband, Lisa? Honey, I know you ain't bringing him back on the scene. Anyway, Dr. Damon said to Heavenly, did you speak? She said, I ain't speaking to nobody that don't speak to me. Now, I'm with you on that, Heavenly, because let me tell you something. When you enter a space, you are the person who is supposed to be speaking, not me speaking to you. You're on my trip, uninvited. And then you just come in and slide on in and go on to your seat, honey, in cabin number B and cabin letter B. No, you need to come over and speak to me. So she didn't speak, and so Heavenly didn't speak back, as she should, honey. So anyway, Lisa, that was rude, honey. This ain't your trip, girl. So I want y'all to tell me how y'all feel down in the comments about Toya carrying around Lisa Nicole and Carrie everywhere she goes. And I also want to know how y'all feel about her actually just inviting them without telling Heavenly. Because if the tables were turned, y'all know that Toya and them big teeth of hers will be having a whole entire fit. Okay? So they board the bus, but Heavenly over there taking her Instagram pictures, honey. Because look, she said, I ain't never been on a private jet, so I'm going to get all my pictures right here and right now, honey. Yes, Dr. Heavenly Child. Get your IG influencer life. Okay? So they get on the bus, and then Heavenly tells them what their mission is and how they're going to be there to help people and administer the test, and that they have a dinner at 7 and that the Reverend Al Sharpton is going to be there. Okay. So she tells them, she said, you know what? I am going to tell y'all a little bit about how the room situation is going to go, because Carrie had asked. Dr. Heavenly says, we'll have y'all, of course, we're going to have the best room because this is our trip, as you should. Okay. So then she tells them that there will be trivia questions to determine who will get the next best room. So she starts to ask the questions, and they are centered around Black history. So we already know Carrie's X'd out, honey, because she probably don't know now. Okay. So Toya answers the first question correctly with the help of, Eugene, because Toya thinks she has 5 childs. So we already knew she was going to need a little bit of assistance. So Toya gets the first question right, and everybody's like, no, you can't have no help from your husband or your phone. But that was not the rules. You just said answer the questions. You didn't say how I had to get the answers. Okay. But we know Dr. Eugene is the brains of the operation. She's Pinky and he's the brain. So then she asked another question, but Toya got it wrong. So Dr. Heavenly said, who mapped out the D.C. streets? So Toya said Benjamin Banneker, which is the correct answer. But then Jackie said Levant. And so Heavenly was like, Jackie is right, Toya, you're wrong. And then Toya was like, no, it says right here on the Googler, honey, it's saying Benjamin Banneker. So you know what? Dr. Eugene made a very good point. He said, you know what? That's what happens with our Black history. It gets taken and a white man gets the credit. Baby, if that ain't the truth, I do not know what is, honey. We could end the episode on that. But, baby, he was all the way right. Because that happens all too many times. You know, we do something that's prominent and then they get the credit for it. Like, that's not cool. So Dr. Heavenly asked about a question about Tupac and what classes he took in school. So Dr. Jackie said, poetry. Heavenly said, how you know that? Jackie said, don't worry about how I know it. She said, Tupac knew my cousin. And so my cousin used to tell me stuff about Tupac. Honey, black people know they gonna know somebody, child, honey. Because let me tell y'all something. I actually went to school with Beyonce. That's actually the truth, okay? In Houston, okay, when she was not saying no, 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 no. It was really yeah, 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 yeah. Okay? That's when she used to have that whole group and they were called the Dolls. And girl, it was like 9 or 10 of them, child. It wasn't a Destiny or a Child yet. But yeah, honey, we know, you know, black people gonna know something, honey. 6 degrees of separation. That's all I'm gonna say on that. So the producer asked Dr. Jackie, have you ever met him? She said, only in my dreams. Dr. Jackie, let me find out. Let me find out you like a roughneck. Child, okay, honey. So Heavenly said, Dr. Jackie won. So Toya starts arguing because, you know, she didn't like that. So Heavenly said, you know what? You know what? I'm just going to get the rooms how I want to get them up. Y'all getting on my nerves. You know how Heavenly is, honey. So she said she going to just administer the rooms how she want to. Child, just let them go on in there and fight over it. So they get to the house, and the house is beautiful. Simone rushed to the blue room. I guess this is supposed to be the next best room. And so Eugene's upstairs fighting with Simone, honey. And Simone said that LaToya stays, why I call this girl LaToya, honey? All the Atlanta women and all the names. I'm sure her name is LaToya, but it just sounds funny because that's Real Housewives of Atlanta. But Simone said Toya stays in a $2 million bedroom all the time. So she should be fine. We're not staying in this one. I know that's real. They get to the dinner table and Al Sharpton shows up, honey, in his finest, because y'all know he gonna be sharp with that press and curl hair laid down, okay, built like a lollipop. So he comes and they greet him and Heavenly starts bowing, and I'm like, girl, why are you bowing to him, honey? Stand up straight. Anyway, Reverend Al Sharpton is on a time limit because he still has to get the march all organized, so he can't stay long. So here comes Carrie and Anila shaking his hands. Child, it would be y'all. Like, why are y'all shaking this man's hand, honey? It's COVID. The men come over and they greet the Reverend. Contessa and Scott still upstairs talking, getting ready. I'm like, if y'all don't come on. So Dr. Damon said, well, I've had a question I've been wanting to ask you all my life. And Al Sharpton said, oh, not all your life. That made me feel old. He said, I was just going to ask you, how do you stay looking so good? That Dr. Damon, no, he a sweet teddy bear, ain't he? Oh, my goodness, honey. I just love me some Dr. Damon, honey. Nah, Dr. Heavenly, honey, don't come for me in my comments and nothing like that, child. I don't want him like that. I'm just saying I like his personality. That's all I'm saying, okay? Contessa and Scott still upstairs, honey. Nice to see y'all getting along, though, and kissing. But if y'all don't hurry up, sitting up there talking. Finally, they grace everyone with their presence. It's really awkward. They sit down, and Al Sharpton is like, I don't think I was introduced to you. And she's like, oh, I'm Dr. Contessa, and this is my husband, Scott. He's a physician also. Y'all should have been on time, honey. So anyway, Heavenly gonna say in her confessionals, child, it's hard to say if they were fighting or fucking, but I mean, it could have been either one. I know that's right, but this time they were actually just getting along and talking and having a good time. So Reverend Al starts talking about his journey and how at 12 he joined the civil rights movement. And he tells them that 57 years ago there wasn't many black doctors and they couldn't sit at the table like they are now. Child, and so then Al was like, all right, I gotta go. Child, y'all didn't even eat. Honey, not a plate was laid down. Okay, I guess he said, I'm just gonna stop by and say hello and I'm out. Everybody had on masks, okay, because they got up to take a picture. So everybody got up and they had on their masks to take the picture with Reverend Al Sharpton, except who? Scott and Contessa. Child, oh my goodness, y'all, they just don't care. Heavenly and Simone go to check on the food, and so Carrie asks Dr. Jackie, you know, what is it that she's surprised about since doing her book? Because, you know, she did like a little book about the female anatomy, the vagina. So she said, you know, women are very afraid and ashamed to talk about sexuality. So Toya said, not me, because, you know, she's so crass, honey. Not me. I want to know what it look like, smell like, taste like, all of that. I'm like, ugh, okay, girl. Eugene's sitting there like, oh, Lord. I know he embarrassed. He stay embarrassed, child. Just look at her, nod, and smile. Toya said, I took a picture and I sent it to Eugene. Girl, if you're going to do that, you are going to need a not safe for work warning attached to that picture. So Eugene was like, I mean, I'm at work and I just opened up my phone and there's a big picture of a vagina. And I mean, I didn't know it was being sent to me. I mean, how do you think I feel? But he didn't say that. He said the P word, which is just a little bit too much for this channel. So I will not be saying that. And she was like, can we say that on TV? He was like, I think we can. The producer says, yeah, you can say that on TV. Okay. Just then, attorney Ben Crump shows up, who is the attorney for George Floyd and the Breonna Taylor case. You know, he thanks them for using their platform. Then he talks about what the real pandemic is, you know, because we're suffering from two: racism and COVID-19. So they talk a little bit about it, and Eugene asked about how he felt about police reform. Eugene said his daddy was a police officer, and he told him there are two things in two places a black man doesn't belong. That's the military and jail. And when I tell you I agree, I agree with that wholeheartedly, and that is exactly what I'm going to instill in my son. And I feel the same. Y'all can agree to disagree, but I feel the same way. So then Ben talks about how, you know, when a racist comes into the hospital, they can't decide who they will get to treat them. So Dr. Damon and Contessa tell about their experiences. And, you know, me personally, I'm looking for a black doctor everywhere I go, but I am black. You know what I'm saying? So it's like sometimes when I know from experience that sometimes I've gone to an emergency room, and because I am black, they will simply act like what I'm telling them is not the truth. Oh, no, you don't hurt right there. I'm sure it's just anxiety. I'm sure you'll be okay. And that is how black people are dying, because they discriminate on us even when we go to the hospitals. So I understand them talking about the racism when it's reversed, where maybe a person of another race may not want them to actually doctor on them. So I've had that experience myself, but the other way around. Lisa Nicole thanks Heavenly and Dr. Damon for putting the trip together, because she said, you know what? This has really been an experience. So the next day rolls around and everybody's calling in to check on their kids. So some of them are on their way to play tennis, but Curtis and Cecil outside playing basketball, child. The others go over to get the tennis lessons, right? Poor Anila, honey, she can't play to save her life, child. Eugene said, well, you know, we're going to have to go check out the testing site. He go, Toya, you got to go now? Girl, this is not a vacation. They came there to work. Anyway, all the doctors board the bus, but Contessa is handling business back home because Layla is acting a fool when it comes to the school stuff, right? So she's on the phone with Denise trying to get things in order while Scott walking and getting his stuff on the bus could care less. But they are wearing matching love shirts, honey, but fussing about the kids as soon as they get on the bus about them doing homeschool. So Scott thinks they should do homeschooling, but Contessa said, and who gonna do all that? Because we're trying to start this practice. And on top of that, you know, we have 3 kids, not just one. So, I mean, and I know all of this work is going to fall on my shoulders, you know, and it normally works out that way. Dr. Scott, you tripping, honey. But you've been trying to get Contessa to be a stay-at-home mom for years. Honey, I agree with Contessa. Homeschool is no joke, child. I'm doing virtual learning with my son, and I don't even want to do it. I'm just saying. So they get to see where they will be testing. They finally make it. Back at the house, Toya and Anila are getting glam for no good reason. Anila, stop following behind Toya. That doesn't even make sense. What are y'all getting glam for? Talking about they getting glam so they can lay by the pool and invite some people over. Girl, you better not invite anybody over into this COVID bubble. The whole point of this and y'all getting this house is so that you will not be interacting with anybody outside of this group. Toya, you are so off. Anyway, Carrie said, well, you know, this morning, Dr. Heavenly and Contessa pulled me to the side and they said they wanted to steal me. And so Toya was like, steal you? And she was like, yeah, they said I'm the more intellectual one and they want me on their team. Carrie, you're messy, honey, a mess box, okay? Everyone is getting along. So why are you even saying that? Girl, it don't even make no sense. So then she got Toya and Anila, honey. Anila mad because Toya mad because she don't even know if she should be mad. And Toya's upset. And now you done started a whole bunch of mess. And so next episode, we're going to see the mess unfold. And where's Lisa Nicole? Honey, it's probably somewhere calling that husband. Anyway, that's the end of this review. I thank you so much for listening and or watching. Please do not hesitate to subscribe, like, and share. As always, stay safe, stay blessed, spread love, not germs. Peace.